So here's one on this Camry where it's really easy to tell. Is it low or does it have a restricted expansion valve? What do you think? Well, it's a Toyota, so I very rarely doubt it's a restrictive expansion valve because they rarely have that problem. At 2.8 psi, our suction line is 59 degrees, almost ambient temperature because ambient temperature is 62 degrees, taken by the thermistor off the temperature sensor right here. Almost 160 degrees, the discharge line temperature. So I know cooling is not coming back to cool off the inverter. This is an electric compressor. And as you can see, there's the exhaust manifold. Now, this has not been running long. It's only been running for about 5 minutes. But you can see the temperature of the discharge line. Let's see. Right there. So that's the discharge line coming out of the compressor at a very low ambient temperature right now. And so right here is the inverter. This is where all the electronics that need to be cooled. So your inverter for your high voltage for your compressor and all the electronics rely in this area right here. And it relies on a cool flow of cold refrigerant coming back in and dumping and cooling the electronics in the system, dumping onto the windings of the compressor located right below where the suction is right there. It dumps in on the cool windings and it needs that coolness. Now today is a cold day, so our discharge temperature is relatively low, only 160 degrees because it's so cold. Now if it was a 90 degree day or a 105 degree day, you would probably see that well over 200, 240 degrees at a discharge. But you know how a customer will say, well, I got some cooling, I'm gonna turn on my AC, and the guy tells me just come back every 6 months and fill it up and I'll top it off with a can. Every time you run the refrigerant this low, your compressor life is reduced. Sometimes you get lucky and you could do it several times. Some guys have real reliable compressors, and other times you're not lucky. You're that guy who only ran your refrigerant low 1 time, 2 times, or 3 times, and then you burned up your compressor. You burn up your compressor when you allow the refrigerant level to get low. Compressors don't burn up by themselves. That is just a symptom of a greater problem. So I'll get off to the next one. I'm going to perform the recovery. I already did my refrigerant analyze. It's 100% 134 with 0% air. I see somebody did connect up to the low side before, and I could tell that when I took off the cap it was wet. I used different wavelength UV lights trying to see what kind of dye they used in the system before, but I couldn't. It's such a weak, poor performance dye that none of my lights can pick up the dye. It's just one of those cheap Grand Auto or something like that, a cheap dye. All right, so I'll jump off and do the recovery, fill it back up. And at this low ambient temperature of 62 degrees, we'll see how much it changes the discharge line sensor right here, taking off the compressor at 163 degrees right now. We'll see what the difference is, and also the difference of the temperature. This is the cool refrigerant line suction that this refrigerant line right here dumps right back in on the compressor to chill the compressor. And so we'll do a before and after, see what it is after I charge it up.